Welcome to Simply Debbie Sue's Southern Whispers. This is the last story before Thanksgiving, so I have a special Thanksgiving story prepared for you today, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's get into the introduction of the story. In the tucked away town of Stone Creek, Virginia, where the mountains cradled the morning fog like a baby in a blanket, Miss Ruby Jenkins was the unofficial matriarch of First Grace Fellowship. Her hands, worn soft from years of stitching and stirring, had created quilts that warmed generations, but her latest creation, a fall-themed masterpiece stitched with scripture and sass, was something special. Each square told a story. Golden leaves embroidered with, "To everything there is a season," pumpkins nestled beside, "Give thanks with a grateful heart," and one tiny patch with a stitched turkey wearing a pilgrim hat that read, "Gobble till you wobble." It was meant to grace the altar for the Thanksgiving service, a symbol of gratitude and grace. 3 days before the big event, the quilt vanished. Miss Ruby stood in the fellowship hall, staring at the empty rack like it had betrayed her. I didn't misplace it," she said, her hands on her hips. "That quilt's been prayed over more than Sister Jolene's casserole." The church buzzed with theories. The youth group had been rehearsing their skit. Maybe it got borrowed. Brother Earl swore he saw a raccoon dragging something colorful near the dumpster. Pastor Tim, ever the peacemaker, suggested they pray and let the Lord reveal. But it was Deacon Harold who found it, early Thanksgiving morning. He'd come to unlock the kitchen for the ladies prepping the meal when he spotted a figure curled up behind the fellowship hall, wrapped in Miss Ruby's quilt like a cocoon. The man was thin, with a beard that had seen better days, and shoes held together with duct tape. He stirred as Harold approached, blinking against the cold light. "I didn't mean no harm," he said, voice raspy. "I saw it hanging there, and I was cold." Harold nodded slowly. "You hungry?" The man hesitated, then nodded. By the time Miss Ruby arrived, apron dusted with flour, hair pinned up with a turkey-shaped clip, the man was seated inside, sipping coffee and wrapped in her quilt like royalty. She looked at him, then at her quilt, and her heart softened like butter on a biscuit. "Well," she said, voice steady, "I reckon it's doing exactly what it was stitched to do." That morning, the Thanksgiving service changed. Pastor Tim set aside his notes and spoke from the heart. "We plan to talk about blessings," he said, gesturing to the man now seated in the front pew, quilt still around his shoulders. "But the Lord showed us what it means to be a blessing." Instead of laying the quilt on the altar, Miss Ruby draped it over the man's shoulders again. "You keep it," she said. "It's yours now." The congregation wept, not the polite kind, but the kind that comes from deep places, where faith meets flesh and grace gets real. After the service, folks lined up to shake the man's hand, offer him food, and ask his name. "Call me Joe," he said. "Been a long time since I felt like somebody saw me." Miss Ruby later said the quilt had found its true calling, and every Thanksgiving since, the altar had been bare of fabric but full of heart. Because in Stone Creek, folks remember, blessings aren't meant to be stored, they're meant to be shared. So the reflection of this story is, Miss Ruby's quilt didn't just warm a body, it warmed the congregation's heart. In a season built around gratitude, it reminded folks that true Thanksgiving isn't found in polished pews or perfect pies, but in the messy, holy act of sharing what we have. Blessings aren't meant to be stored in cedar chests or hung on altars. They're meant to be wrapped around the weary, handed to the hungry, and stitched into the lives of those who need them most. So this Thanksgiving, may we give thanks, not just with words, but with warmth. May we be the quilt in someone's cold morning. And may we never forget, when grace is given away, it multiplies. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. I hope you have a blessed holiday, and I hope you come back after the holiday for more stories. So have a great holiday. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.